All right, guys, good morning. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I so appreciate you guys being here, and there is nothing like growing together.
I agree. And I'm going to start with a little tidbit that I heard this week.
Yay.
So I was listening to John Maxwell speak, and it was to a group who are network marketers. So kind of specific along that. But the tidbit piece is in regards to the 21 laws. And I may or may not have mentioned earlier that this is 25 years since he wrote the 21 laws, and he is updating the 21 laws.
Again?
He's updating the 21 laws. So this is going to be so fun because the next time we do the 21 laws, there's going to be new stuff. Anyway, that's just the excitement part over here. But one of the things that he shared, which of course is all brand new because it hasn't been shared yet, is in the law of the lid, the revision pieces in terms of emphasis. And so I just wanted to quickly share this because we've been talking about it. Like, we've been talking about this. His comment was, of course, how well you lead determines how well you succeed. All success rises with good leadership. But he really added the piece that you need both good leadership and good values. And he really went in to the fact that good leadership without good values is not going to move you to where you want to go, not at the speed you want to go, not at any of the things. And his comment was, what do all good leaders have in common? They see more than others see. They see before others see. And how do they do that? It's with values, good values, congruent with great leadership. So that's
good.
My tidbit for this morning.
That's so good. Every time you share little things where you're like, yeah, I was just listening to John Maxwell, because you guys know, just if you don't know, Sherry has like this inside access to the John Maxwell community because she is a coach and a speaker and all of the things. And every time you share like little insider things, I'm like, yeah, I want access to the community, but I know what I need to do in order to do that. So that's fine. We're working on it. Anyway, that's awesome.
It was really, really good. There was a few other little things, and I'll share them as time goes on where they fit. But that really, really spoke to me in terms of what we've been doing.
Well, and I really do. It's so funny how many times values has come up in the last month, right? Like and almost to the point where, when we started talking about it, I was like, yeah, this is really good. I want to dig in here. And I was like, I have, and all those things, but because it keeps coming up, I'm like, okay, what am I missing? What are we missing? What haven't we covered in it that it keeps coming up and being so relevant? Right? So Nolan and I were talking about values. What are we missing?
I think it's like, are we doing the work every day?
Yeah.
Are we every day doing the work? Are we every day saying what I'm doing today aligns with my values? Are we doing the review? Are we doing the renew? Are we doing that refresh and saying, okay, I need to schedule my time a little differently tomorrow?
Yeah.
Things keep coming back when we're not doing the work on our end.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And I think the other thing too is that maybe if we get it in one area of our lives, we need to start looking at the other areas in our lives as well, right? So, I mean, we're talking our Plexus business or, our why, all of those things, but, it really does apply to things like finances. It applies to your relationships, like your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your kids, where you find yourself able to serve in your community, your church, all those things, right? Like I have always said, not always, but for the last 15 years, I've said the reason for burnout in groups where you volunteer your time, I feel, and I can be completely wrong on this, but this is what I have found to be true, is when people are working outside of, say, like their genius zone or outside of their giftings, or outside of their values. If they're spending too much time working and they're not aligned in their values, they will burn out. it will completely burn out. Yes. Can I go into a kitchen in a church? Yes, I can. Should I spend all of my time working in a kitchen in a church? No, that's not good for anybody. Nobody benefits from that. I can be a body, I can dry dishes, not my gifting. I have a friend who just knows off the top of her head how many turkeys to cook for 127 people. Just knows those things. You belong in that area of service. That's not mine. I could know those things, but it's not important to me. It's not something, yeah. Anyway, so keeping those things in mind, especially if you're feeling burnout in some of those areas of your life, right? Now, I'm not going to say that you can be like, yeah, I don't identify with laundry. I don't value laundry. You still have to do it. It still needs to be done. But yeah,
you know, I would, if it's okay with you, I'll just challenge that concept.
Yep.
Because in listening to this network marketing piece, it was like, yes, laundry may have to be done, but who has to do the laundry? And are you providing the best value to your family by doing the laundry? Or would there be more value provided if someone else did the laundry and you did something that was of more value? So I would just like to put that little challenge thought into everybody's mind about, are you doing the things that provide the most value to your life and your family?
Yeah. Actually, all of my kids do their own laundry. And then when we get behind on folding, my mother comes in and she folds. So then she is here and she gets to be grandma, and the dog is thrilled because grandma's here and I'm here, and I'm thrilled that she's here. And I usually work while she folds laundry and watches Downton Abbey on my TV. She just hasn't been here for a while. Grandma needs to come back.
Amy, the training piece. We are going to talk about training your inner circle today. Training on the new equipment so that everybody can do this.
Oh, Fran, that's awesome. My kids just folded like 4 loads of laundry. That's fantastic. Nolan folded all of our laundry last night that needed to be folded because I went to grab something and right away I did something stupid with my hand. He's like, just sit there. I'm like, don't have to ask me twice. It's totally fine.
Yes, and like Diana says, maybe laundry is the right thing for you to do. Like,
that's awesome.
This is not a no judgment or a no laundry zone. I do like clean clothes.
Indeed. Yep, I love that. I love that.
Okay, we probably should move on to the inner circle. We are halfway through. Can you believe this? This is number 11.
I laughed this morning because Carrie had put, I know it was a typo, but Carrie had put in the grow chat. She's like, yeah, 22 laws of leadership. I was like, did we find another one? Is this not long enough?
We needing to? We actually might.
When John revises it, last time he stuck 2 together. But yeah, I'm interested. Like, I think it's so, guys, anybody else find it fascinating that he revised this for the 10th anniversary in 1991? Sorry, originally it was, oh no, that's scripture. Hold on. This is copyright in 2007, but he's already revised it once. And when you hear him talk about the revisions, he's like, these things just weren't, as I grew in my leadership and whatever, I realized that these things could go together and then we needed new ones and whatever. And I'm just flabbergasted that this is so crucial to today, that the basis of it is still relevant, but he's still learning more. Like, wow, that man's brain is just like,
because he invests in it every day. Daily learning. Yes, Sharon.
I don't know if anybody else caught it when they were listening to the chapter, but he said he did not realize the importance of the law of the inner circle until he was 40. right? And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times I feel like I'm super behind. And then I look at John Maxwell and I think, I've got like a jump start on John Maxwell. I'm not.
It does make me feel better.
No, but it's like, I mean, it's an interesting thought though, isn't it? Right? Like we're intentionally doing this now, right? And you think, wow, look at where that could go potentially. It's pretty amazing. Anyways, no.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Sharon. I, of course, am past the 40 stage. So just, noticing that.
You know what I thought? I was like, I wonder if Linda Eggers, when she applied to be his assistant, realized that the man was never going to retire. Like, did she realize what she was signing on for? Because I'm thinking, like, if she retires, not like he's not going to have the pick of like anybody, but wow, the two of them together. Although it does sound to me like they almost like they work so well together like this, right? It's like one person is growing, the other person is like, do you know what I mean? But it just made me laugh. I was like, she had no idea when she applied for that job, how long it wasn't gonna, right? This isn't just like a little 10-year career. You've got like, whew, yep. Diana says she's a little past that too, Sherry. So there.
Good. I'm glad to have company.
I still feel like a kid though, and I feel like Sherry feels the same way.
Yeah.
You know what? Wisdom is great, but I don't know. I'm edging on 40, and that's whatever. It's
so
fine.
I'd like to start actually with the whole Lance Armstrong story a little bit, because when you see his wins, I mean, you think of it as an individual sport until you actually dive in and realize it takes a team for him to win. And so it's not an individual sport, it's a team sport, because without each person in that team doing the skills that they can best provide to the team, it wouldn't be a winning team. And it really made me think about Plexus and how we do things together, and how each person provides different parts of that whole. But the whole concept of one is too small of a number. Like, you need the team.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, Amy.
Totally.
The other thing that popped into my head was like the Olympics by country, because so many of those pieces look individual and they look separate and all that part. But if all of the coaches have been communicating with each other, when they actually meet each other before the Olympics, they have a philosophy and a team to support each other, whether it's group sports or whether it's individual. And that whole ambiance can move forward. So it's the inner circle that's connected them, so that the inner circle can take it back out to the people.
I like that example, Amy, but you know, it makes me think of the individual athletes and what their inner circle actually looks like, because I think it's different than a person perceives. Because many of those individual athletes actually train alongside their competitors. They go to a training facility, and you might have somebody from Germany training with somebody from the US, training with somebody from Brazil. Like, and those people are their inner circle. Those people are the people that push them, that like, right? Like, it's interesting because that is not what you would perceive if you were just watching it from the outside, because you would think that the inner circle truly is for that one athlete, their coaches, their trainers, their nutritionists, they're like all of those things. But really, I wonder if that inner circle is more, do you know what I mean? And that, to me, that brings me to Plexus too, is that your inner circle, or the people that are necessary for you to grow, are not necessarily just the people that are on your team, like you, Linda, and your downline, or your leadership that are there, but it's people that you align with, same values, same work ethic, like those types of things that you find along the way that can help to support and uphold you. Which is why I'm really excited about this IPA challenge that we're doing. I'm just going to slide that in there. I'm really excited about this IPA challenge that we're doing because yes, we're going to be working as our grow team together on the IPA challenge. And I apologize for not having that chat set up. I needed to iron some things out with Jimmy Lou to figure out how we were all doing it. But you guys are you're going to get to know more people on your sidelines in grow like this, which I think this is so valuable for that. But you're also going to hear from other leaders, not just me. You're going to see other people who are doing amazing things outside of grow. And you're going to be able to connect that way so that along your journey, you're finding more people that will add value and more people you can add value to. And you will find more of an inner circle. That's why I love these things.
So for those that, have kind of looked at this and thought about this a little bit, have you thought about who is your inner circle? I'm really interested in hearing about that because it may or may not be the people that are closest to you even. But who's your inner circle? Who inspires you, fires you up, keeps getting you up in the morning, gives you ideas? Who do you add value to? Who's your inner circle? Sharon, I can see you thinking there.
No, I was just, when you said gets you up in the morning, I'm like Genevieve and Elise, my kids. Oh, this explains a lot. Yeah. No, I can talk later. We'll let someone else talk. Yeah.
Well, for myself, I'm going to turn my treadmill off just a second. For myself, I would say my whole inner circle is my husband, my children, and my grandchildren. But included in that would be Nikki and Jimmy Lou and Janelle. And it's not just people that, are in the business, but like I know Cam influences me in so many ways and is in my corner and cheers me on. And so I would say those are the people that are in my inner circle. Plus, of course, there's Jesus. There's my church friends. And you can keep going, but kind of your inner circle to me is the smaller group of people.
Yeah. Those ones you talk to every day, those ones that you ask the little questions to. Anybody else?
I'm laughing because I'm like, so I'm going to figure out who my inner circle is by who I sent pictures of my Smurf finger to yesterday. No, just kidding. Who are the people that you want to know the stupid things that you do?
I'm actually just going to interrupt just for a second, Janelle, and then let you go ahead. You may find that your inner circle for one aspect of your life is different than your inner circle for another aspect of your life. So I don't want people to get kind of mixed up or tangled up with the idea of, oh, well, I work with so-and-so on the church choir, and so they're my inner circle. And I work with so-and-so on this volunteer, so they're my inner circle. I want you to be just a little bit careful about thinking about the inner circle and bringing it back to one area in terms of inner circle.
Yeah, I was going to say that you can have the people that are like absolutely the closest to you, right? Like Diana, you've got Cam, you've got your family, and that's totally similar for me. Nolan is very influential for me. But like I do have like kind of my plexus inner circle, right? And then I have my friend inner circle, and I find that some of those people overlap, right? Some of the people do overlap. And I think I was sharing a little bit about circles. It's kind of funny that we were talking about this last week too, right? Like you kind of have the people that are the closest to you, and then you've got kind of that next and the next and the next, and you've kind of got like you have the people who you would absolutely invite over for Christmas, right? Like these people should be in my home for Christmas. And then you've got the people that are like, I don't know that they would be like, they'd be cool with coming over to my house for Christmas, even if I did extend the invitation, but we're good to go for coffee. And then we've got that, right? Like there's sort of different levels there. But I think it's interesting to me, I've kind of been reflective with things this week. Because as much as I call us all old birds in Plexus, sometimes you just take a moment and you're like, I have been here for 6 years. That's a long time. It's a long time. And it's interesting to see cyclically, like who comes and goes, right? And who keeps repeating in the circle, right? Like somebody may choose to leave for a little while, or you guys, your values may diverge for a season. But it is very fascinating to see the people that continuously seem to come back, right? Because we all have the people in our lives who are close to us for a season and then they are gone, right? And they're still friends and they're still sweet people, but you're just not walking the same path, right? And then, yeah, it is just fascinating to me to see the repetition of the people that kind of come and go.
I was listening to John this morning and he was talking about the team and he was talking about the inner circle. It made me really realize, and it actually made me think about, he's got a book, 17 Laws of Teamwork, but he's also got one that's the 17 Qualities of a Team Player. And if you haven't read this, it's really worth reading, because to be a valuable part of a team is really that first step to being the leader of a team. It's the how you add value, it's the how you work with others. And he really does focus on teams being necessary to be of significance. I mean, he's got a law, one is too small to be of significance. It's in his first law of teamwork. And he really focuses that to achieve great things, you need to build the people around you and understand the strengths of those people around you. But his comment this morning, just the sideline was, look at the 5 or 6 people around you. Are they adding value to you or are they pulling you down? And then he said, think of it as if they're carrying 2 buckets. One's a bucket of water, one's a bucket of gas. And you know, as they go through their day and there's these little things, these little issues crop up, he says, are they the people that put on the water and, you know, it's all settled down and you hardly ever even hear about the issue? Or are they the people that put on the gas and all of a sudden it's a huge issue and there's all sorts of drama going on and maybe you even need the fire department? What are those people offering and how are they offering it? And what sort of consequences are you finding as a leader as those key people interact through your day, your week, etc.?
That's funny. And it reminded me so much of something Eva sent me this week. And so I'm going to say, you can find your inner circle amongst people who pour gas on the fire, right? You know, the weird connection between women, especially. I mean, we could just use the world right now as a great example. You see connected groups of people who just want to, they connect over dissension. You're just like, okay, this is really bad. But sometimes, and in the case of some of my inner circle, Eva sent me this meme, and it was from Vanessa Van Edwards, and it was, are you the distracted or the distractee? People who drain you, challenge you, what are you in the relationship? Are you the distracted person? Are you the person who does the distracting? And I said, so she'd sent it to me, and I said, which one am I? She's like, we're both. I'm like, yes, we are. Because behind a Zoom, if there's a corporate Zoom going on, usually there's Eva and Marge and myself, and we're doing this between each other, and it's probably good. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but we have distracted each other terribly well. We're being thoroughly amused, even though we are still invested. But man, relationships really do grow with squirrels. Like, it's funny. It reminded me of that because I laughed so hard. I'm like, which one am I? She's like, we're both. We're owning it. But I do think it's very interesting and really good to guard yourself on the connection of an inner circle that thrives on chaos or negativity, and I think we're all pretty aware of that, especially now, as hip deep that we are in our personal growth journeys. I also really loved, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in here, when he was talking about leaders no, Sherry, you're going to have to help my brain. Leaders when they get together, they talk about leadership and they challenge each other and they ask each other questions, and they want to cultivate more information. And so, how did you do this? What did you do here? What are you, right? Like, when you're with your inner circle and you're connecting with those people, the conversations go to leadership and growth. And so then for me, I don't know if this is the same with you guys, but I start assessing conversations that I have with people where it's like, is this healthy? Is this not? What kind of conversations are we having? Do I feel fulfilled in this? Is this really where I want to be putting my brain? Do I really want to be spending my time here? Is this a healthy person to have in my inner circle, or is it not? Or do we need to make a tweak in the relationship? Do I love this person so much that she and I need to keep each other accountable, and we need to stop and we need to pivot and shift? Sorry, we shouldn't say pivot. We decided last week that was a toxic word. We're not going to use, unless it's accompanied with a Friends meme, we're not using, no.
I think that's one of those words that Emily Gibson would just say, it's a thought. What you create from it is what you create from it. It's not about the word.
If you guys aren't listening to her Beyond the Rank podcast and her coaching, like, you need to. It's so good.
So I think in this Law of the Inner Circle in the book, he talks about practicing it by being intentional with relationship building. And I think that's kind of what you were referring to, Janelle, in terms of the intentionality of conversations. So he says, as you consider whether individuals should be in your inner circle, ask yourself the following questions. If you can answer yes, then they are an excellent candidate for your inner circle. So the first one is, do they have high influence with others? And certain questions will help you evaluate that. But people that have high influence are vision carriers as well. And that's important in terms of that inner circle team of vision creation and vision dissemination, carrying. The second one he says is, do they bring a complementary gift to the table? And remember, I don't know, the last one, the time before, we talked about we attract who we are. And so part of that is we need to have people who may be value aligned with who we are, but who have additional or different skills in different areas, because that's what makes a team work. The third one, do they hold a strategic position in the organization? And this one can be challenging. He said, some people belong in the inner circle because of their importance to the organization. If you and they are not working on the same page, the entire organization is in trouble. And so we've all probably seen situations where people were working on projects together because of position. However, something wasn't aligned in the energy. And sometimes it's not aligned because one person hasn't grown to the stage of the other one. Sometimes it's aligned because there's a vision shift. There's various reasons. But when there's that misalignment, the whole organization is in trouble because that energy becomes pervasive everywhere. So I think it's a key awareness and a key reflection in terms of that strategic position piece and how that energy comes across when you work together on projects. The fourth one he said is, do they add value to me and to the organization? And I always found this one a little bit interesting, but his comment and his explanation is they should add value to you personally. And maybe that value is challenging your thinking. The value is not necessarily comfortable. So I don't want to imply that they're adding value because they make you feel good. Because chances are they're not. Chances are they're challenging your creativity, your ideas, your timing, your all the things, all the laws that we've talked about. Challenges are good for us. And so this improves our ability to lead when we're positively challenged. We have to be at a leadership level that we're open to that thought process versus resistant. Oh, they're just pushing me and I'm not ready to be pushed. So my children that I can see their faces of on this screen are laughing. And that's probably because we've had some push conversations recently. And then the fifth one is, do they positively?
Hold on, I want to time out. I want to just say something because I think this is super valuable. They add value to me in the organization. It brought me back to when we were doing transformation tables. And we were talking about how everyone has value. And I would challenge that it isn't, does the person possess value? It's, do I see the value in this person? And so it really is very little to do with them and everything to do with us, right? Do I recognize the value that this person has and can add to me and to the organization? Because everyone has value.
Yeah, and the recognizing of the value is not about them.
No,
it's about us.
Now you can have somebody who has zero leadership skills and really, like, I'm just trying to think of people who you know, say like will struggle socially, like all of those things. They may not be at a place where they should be in the inner circle. They still have value. They still have value to give. They need to maybe find their own value and choose to walk in it before they're able to be part of anyone's inner circle. So I don't want to say that, but I want to say that it's, yeah, I think it's our recognition of value. Hi, Amy. I wanted to put a bookmark here because obviously you had something to say before your mother moved on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So when you started talking about the inner circle, I've been thinking about family and plexus and like those kinds of things. When we started going through these questions, it actually took until, do they add value to me and do they add value to the organization, that I popped into a different role. And it was when I work with, I have two separate boards that I work with. And part of it is that I never would be in the situation I'm in with either one of them right now if I hadn't grown as much as I've grown. So over the last year, they have both challenged me in different ways. The individuals have shifted and changed on them, and they are of higher influence. They challenge me. They hold strategic positions. Do they add value to me personally? Well, there is a name that pops out, and part of it I know is my choice, because this person I find extremely abrasive and extra vital biome conversations. That's what they are. But after that, and I'm trying to implement, and I'm like trying to think from a different side and be creative, and how do you not see what I see? Okay, well, you see something else, so let's try and shift that. They do add value to me because I have grown enough to be in their circle presence, their ideas, and I'm still there. Because when I first was having like, what? It was, okay, I can choose where I'm at. Well, I want to grow. So maybe I want to choose to be a little uncomfortable, a little put off, a little like, what conversation did I just end? And I don't know what I'm doing now. So that I can continue to grow.
I think that's a great example, Amy, of when I'm a silver, I don't think like a gold thinks. When I'm a gold, I don't think like a ruby thinks. And as a silver, being open to how the gold thinks helps you move your thinking to that new space. And that's really this law of the inner circle is all about spending time being in a place to be able to be influenced, challenged, stretched by those ideas that aren't comfortable.
On page 114, he says, we naturally tend to surround ourselves with either people we like or people with whom we are comfortable. Few people give enough thought to how those closer to them impact their effectiveness or leadership potential. And I think that's one of recognizing that choosing an inner circle is about intentionality. And you have to be intentional to put yourself in the path of some of those people that may make you uncomfortable, instead of our natural tendency to avoid them.
I do super great at avoiding. I'm like a rock star at avoidance.
And the other thing that, in addition to avoidance, which I'm very good at, Janelle, I'm very good at justification.
Amen. I agree.
Like Amy referred to earlier.
No, I don't agree that you are. I agree that I am also. Sorry.
I have to be in their presence because they make me uncomfortable. So I'm old enough. I can choose who I spend my time with. Yeah, that's a justification, Ron, that probably isn't of growth value.
But there is. Now, I will say this too, and this is interesting because this had come up this week, actually. So story time. I have been really encouraging my oldest to go to the youth group that's at our church. Honestly, it is more self-serving probably than anything else because I don't have to run him somewhere else when everybody else needs to be at exactly the same place. Why would I want to put you somewhere else when I could have you be at the same place as everybody else, right? And the other piece to it is that we do really feel like we should be supporting our own church ministries rather than sending people thither and yon wherever they choose to be. However, the other youth group that he has been tied into, and first of all, I'm just super thankful that he wants to go to a youth group. So that's the basis of all of it. Like I'm really happy. But the other thing is the kids that go to the youth group that he has been invested in are mostly the kids that go to school with him. And in the Christian school atmosphere, they spend a lot of time working with these kids on leadership, on growth, on all these things. So these kids have all mostly torn down their own barriers, and they know each other more on this kind of level than I'm just going to go walk into a youth group full of kids that I don't really know, and now I'm not really going to want to bare my soul to these strangers, right? These are kids that are learning and growing together every day, right? So I wanted him to go to the other one because A, it would be easier for me, and B, I know he's a good kid. He will be a blessing to that group of people and could potentially be a leader there, right? He comes home from a youth group on Wednesday night and he is so frustrated. He's like, Mom, I'm just trying not to be angry. He's like, I spent the whole time trying to make the grade 11s behave themselves, and I'm in grade 10. Like, he was miffed, right? And he was like, I don't want to go back. And in that moment, I was like, this little voice in the back of my head said, you know, you become like the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. And your kid is telling you that those people are not who he wants to be like. The people that are at the other place are who he wants to be like. And I went, okay. And he's like, the other place, we have better conversations. You know, people aren't having to be brought back to paying attention. Like I know that they break off into small groups and they're able to really get into things. Whereas it just seems like the other place is a struggle. And I was like, okay, you have 2 choices. You have 2 choices, and I will not make you continue to go to the place that you don't want to go. His inner circle is at the other place, right? That's where his inner circle is. And I said, you can choose to go there, but I have to be the challenger, right? I'm Mom. You can choose to go there and it will serve you, and you will feel like you will feel fed and filled, and you'll have great conversations. And these are great people who you spend every other waking moment with. It may not be a bad idea to invest a little bit of time with the other people, because guess what? You can be a leader. And guess what's been spoken over you for your entire life? It's been that you would read the word of God, understand it, and be able to teach it to others. So you don't think that blessing isn't going to get walked out before you're like 27 years old. I said, but you can choose. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to do this now. You can wait. So I gave him 2 very neutral choices, but I just thought it was so interesting because I gave him 2. It is 2 neutral choices because the other side, he's saying he is saying that the other side is that he is getting growth and he's getting fed and all of these things, right? And I said, that's great. I can totally align with that. Like, if you want to go there and you feel like that's where you're being fed, that's great. But I challenge you, is that where it's safe?
I think we all need both. We all need places where we get fed and encouraged, and we all need places where we, instead of being spoon-fed, we actually step out and do the hard things, because it's when we step out of our comfort zone to do the hard things that we actually grow. We grow in skills. We grow in how we actually see and perceive people, because it's one where when you've got that difficult crowd, that you really struggle to actually see value in them. And how do you get beneath the surface to actually see value and add value to that group, and see how a leader actually changes and influences a group of people to be a different group than they were previously.
Yep.
They may not
and
be
I know
circle, but they're just a group he can influence. And we all have groups we can influence.
And it's very possible that he is influencing the other group, right? The group that he's with all the time. And he is able to be a leader, but it's just a little bit more comfortable. It's not totally throwing him in the deep end with the other group of people where he's the only kid that goes to a Christian school and he's the only kid whose parents, A, B, and C, So it's interesting. Kids are such a weird science experiment.
Absolutely. So the last question, well, I don't know if that's the last question, but the fifth question that he asks on these inner circle team members is, do they positively impact other inner circle members? And this is an area that can be a huge challenge in terms of people that provide value. They're a yes, absolutely, to every other piece of it. But somehow there's challenging between inner circle members, jockeying for position, having disagreements about strengths. And I really feel this is an area where learning to be a better team player, understanding laws of teamwork is a huge growth area. Anytime there are people within that inner circle who are finding that they're actually not ready for the growth that's being offered within that space. And then he talks a little bit about, and it's not a yes or a no question, but does your inner circle display excellence, maturity, and good character in everything they do? And that really just brings us back to our values discussion that we had right at the very beginning. All about values. It's all about that base of values. So I guess, and we're getting closer to the end of the time here, but so in terms of your inner circle, do you feel like you've got an inner circle? Do you feel like you need to or want to develop more of an inner circle? And an inner circle is not 20 people. Like an inner circle, as he describes it, is more like that 4 or 5 people, maybe 6 at the most. But as we're new leader learners, I would suggest smaller inner circles, like 3 or 4 are probably more where our leadership skills will allow us to support and commit to that inner circle leadership.
Diana says, I want more in my inner circle as I grow. I'm an introvert, but becoming more outgoing as I grow.
Honestly, as an introvert, inner circle's real safe. Small numbers of people.
Just say small.
Small numbers. Yes, Diana.
And you know what I'll say, as an ambivert, because that's me, I agree with that too, actually. Small. So
as we, page 121 in the workbook, he says, your inner circle should be made up of people from different areas of your life to receive a well-rounded balance of feedback and insight. And so he kind of gives a list of who is your potential inner circle member and what are their contributions to your inner circle. So if anybody hasn't done that, I think that's a really good reflection process to actually write down who it is and what their contribution is. Because that process may help you determine that you've got big gaps in the contribution area. Go ahead, Janelle.
No, I was just going to say that just above that, I think it's really interesting when he's talking about the inner circles, but he's saying if you lead a larger staff, then not everyone who works for you will be part of your inner circle, right? And I think it's interesting what his criteria are for paring it down. I think it's really interesting. And I think back to my, like, through my journey with Plexus and as the organization grew, how those things changed and how the number of people that were in that circle changed, right? And I mean, people left, people came, you know, those kinds of things as well. But I find this fascinating that there's actually, that he has again, one of those moments where it's like, he has so much experience that he's actually been able to craft a list on how, when this happens, then this, like when your immediate staff numbers more than 7, you need to have a smaller inner circle. You're like, wow, 7, that's interesting. I wonder how he got to that. I wonder what he went through in order to get to that position, right? Like Sharon was saying, he didn't get the that one law until he was over 40, right? And I'm thinking, wow, so what did he have to go through in order to figure these things out?
I think he would tell you he went through failures.
Mm-hmm.
He went through situations that didn't work. And he reflected on them. And he evaluated what didn't work. And he changed what his motive of action was.
I think the other growth piece that's really interesting is on the top of page 121. It says, if there are people on your list who add no value or who bring you down, you should consider moving them out of your inner circle. It's also interesting to sit back and reflect on if a person has been removed from if you are a person who's been removed from an inner circle, and why. I think that can actually be quite fascinating. It could be because it was a toxic environment and you were too positive. I don't know. Or it could, like, there's a lot of different things, right? But when I read that, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Oh, sorry, looking here. In the past, Diana's keeping on going with her thought process. In the past, it was more about, I didn't want to get hurt. Keeping the circle small was protecting myself. Yeah, for sure.
So I think John really reflects, you know, kind of as we're coming to the ending of this, but on an inner circle commitment. Like, yes, we need an inner circle. Yes, we value from an inner circle. Are we as leaders making the inner circle commitments? Are we committing to that team leadership? Are we adding value to those people around us? Are we allowing them to add their value to us? Are we spending time to evaluate those inner circle people and hold them accountable for their gifts, for recognize their potential value, recognize their positive value to others in the group, recognize their personal value in terms of, you know, are they lifters? Are they leaners? Like, you know, which way do we have? He talks about Linda Eggers lots, but he talks about her as the proven value. You make me better than I am. You make me look better than I am. You make me feel better than you make me better than I am. And I think those are the kinds of people. I mean, I think that's what some of these athletes would say. Lance Armstrong, you make me better than I am. Mm-hmm. Your push, your courage, your encouragement, your skills, you make me better than I am. And the third part that he talks about is developing your leadership team. Growing your people grows your company. And so those uncomfortable times when we're thinking through, reflecting, sorting out if it's a growth opportunity, those are the things that we need to commit to our inner circle in terms of growing our business.
Awesome. I think Linda Egger should write a book.
She may have.
I think it would be really fascinating. The other thing that I just wanted to say, and I loved all of those things that you just shared, and I feel bad adding it to the end. Could we rewind and you could not say all that so I could stick this there and then you could end us off? I think it's really interesting that he pointed out that now 90% of the time, Linda can answer for him because she knows how he would answer something, right? And when you think of that as team culture or an organization together, when you have so many people, when you have that inner circle that is working on like on the same frequency, and everyone is clear about the mission, the value that you are trying to add, all of those things, if you are of one accord, everyone in the team can lead in the same direction because everyone is focused in that same direction. Even if you have different like strengths and values, like all of those things, the cohesiveness of the leadership team comes from that. And I think that's
That's a beautiful ending. And I know we're going to end like in like 20 seconds, but it leads us right into the law of empowerment, which is law number 12, which is only secure leaders give power to others. So perfect.
There we go. There we go. Thank you guys so much for spending your Saturday morning with us. We have Trent Shelton coming up right now, and he is going to be amazing. So if you guys want to flip over to the other side, you will not be seen, by the way. So you can go and fold your laundry if need be. My in-laws are coming, so I'm going to be doing something while Trent's in my ears. All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for the value you add here to this space. Have a great, great Saturday.